okay, 385 million police interactions happen every single year in America. 385 million and 15 unarmed black men die. 52 police officers were killed last year in 2019. Twice as many black police officers have died in the last 2 weeks than unarmed black men. David Dorn and Patrick Underwood. Do you think Black Lives Matter activists know those two names? Do you think they know the names of the 179 individuals that have been shot due to black-on-black crime in Chicago, Atlanta, and Philadelphia? So I think if we're serious about having this conversation about unjust death in America, we can't allow an entire emotive, quasi-pathological conversation to hijack the American to hijack the entire narrative in our country. And I think it's very dangerous. And also it leads us to a place that does not create good public policy and divides the country unnecessarily.
Something I've been really sad about is seeing women, and especially Christian women, say that it is callous to talk about those facts and to talk about the statistics or to bring up the side of the police officers at all, the good police officers, because it is not showing proper compassion, or it's not showing enough sadness surrounding the tragedy. But what I want people to understand is that you don't bring up statistics to say, oh, no bad people exist, or no bad cops exist, or we can't talk about racism ever. It's because exactly what you said. If we allow narratives to go unchecked without talking about statistics and facts, that's how people, especially on the left, build public policy. They build public policies off of public narratives. And if that public narrative is a lie, then you've got bad public policy that affects the lives of people. And we're already seeing that in calls for abolishing the police. Who do you think is going to be affected by abolishing the police? Not even primarily me and you, but women and children, disabled people, elderly people, and poor communities. Where's the compassion? Where are the activist groups for those people?
Yeah, it's well said, Allie. And so it's going to, the Ferguson effect is going to happen, which after Ferguson, Missouri, with the lie that was peddled by the media that they said Michael Brown put his hands up and said, hands up, don't shoot. Never happened. Did not happen. It's been proven through witness testimony and also through an autopsy that did not happen. But still, that lie became a narrative within the media. And the Ferguson effect in Ferguson, Missouri ensued, which essentially is the police retreated. People said, we don't want the police, fine. Crime went up. Rapes went up. Violent arrest went up. Violent crime, I should say, went up. Every sort of category of crime went up imaginable. And so as a byproduct of that, who actually were the ones suffering? People in black communities. And so that as soon as this happened, Allie, I said, this is a bad day for Black America. It's a bad day because now police officers, which are, by the way, mostly majority police forces, are going to be saying, we don't want the police here. We don't want the police in our communities. And again, I want to also kind of put a sidestep tangent on this because you and I are both outspoken Christians, and I've gone after these woke Christians that think that they have stumbled into an issue that makes them seem correct, where you have these pastors with these massive social media followings putting black squares. And so one in particular said, this is the biggest epidemic happening in America right now. He used the word epidemic, which, again, such a bizarre use of language when you're actually going through an epidemic. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen him post once about how 300,000 black babies are aborted every single year. Not once. I mean, and that is the absolute definition of the stripping of innocence of those that can't defend themselves. That's the absolute definition of unarmed, is the crisis of abortion in the black community, where upwards of 40% of all the abortions in America are by 3% of the population, which are infant-bearing black women. Mm-hmm. Abortions way out. They are far outside of the proportion of population towards the black community than towards any other community. And yet Black Lives Matter wants more abortions. In fact, they stand side by side with Planned Parenthood. And so I think it's very important for Christians out there to understand you could strike a healthy balance between acknowledging a tragedy, but also standing for truth. There's nothing indelicate. There's nothing abrasive about lovingly and compassionately articulating what is actually happening in the world around data, science, and statistics. And I think we need more Christians to do that. And our lack of willingness to engage in that kind of discussion will be the downfall of our entire country.
And a lack of discussion about any real solutions. People point to, and I think you actually did a response to a video that's been going around. It's a very well-made video about what systemic racism looks like, the inequalities in graduation rates, and how much wealth is being owned by white families versus black families. And that's what a lot of people point to when they say, okay, America is systemically, endemically racist, and there's nothing we can really do to change it. What what would you say some of the solutions are? If you don't want to point to systemic racism, you could still say those are problems that are happening. What would you say that we could discuss as solutions to help minority communities?
Yeah, and we want to be really specific with our language, right? So saying that there are problems in the Black community and then also saying it's not because of systemic racism, you could still say those two things. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, when you say that you don't believe in systemic racism, it doesn't mean you're saying there are no problems in Black America. It's
or
saying
that there's
maybe
no racism anywhere ever.
Yeah, and so, but there's also other reasons why maybe Black America is not succeeding outside of racism. In fact, I think it is so intellectually lazy to blame every single problem. And I think it's so wrong and dangerous to say, well, every problem in the Black community is because of racism. So, for example, a Black child that is raised by a mom and a dad has a higher likelihood of succeeding than a white kid that is just raised by a single mother. So it's not systemic racism. It's systemic fatherlessness.